Hi there, Fred again with a slight video here about the Battlestar Galactica ships I have created, the ships of the Colonial fleet. Why do I want to do this? Well, when you make a new fleet or a new race, there's always a reasoning behind it. That reasoning may not always be clear to everybody, or, well, it might not even matter to everybody, but it helps understanding why you do a certain thing and how it actually came out. So, making a new race for Fiery Void that is not Babylon 5 is always a tricky one because a lot of the people that actually play the game are avid Babylon 5 fans, and they play the game, well, mostly for the Babylon 5 races, to actually play the standard vanilla, if I can call them, races against each other, and maybe a couple of races that aren't created in the past. But they're always mainly a little shy of going outside of that boundary. This is what I noticed actually. So when you start like, hey, I'm going to make this non Babylon 5 race and it's completely new, and well, the balance is completely something I'm making up or I'm trying to do. Well, it gets met with a lot of, yeah, we'll see. And well, that maybe this little video will help in well, diminishing that thought and that feeling. So yeah, Babylon 5, Babylon 5, Battlestar Galactica. I mean, sorry. This is an awesome IP. The ships are amazing. They're great. They're bulky. They're huge. They're everything the Earth Alliance should be and more. I fell in love with the ships a long time ago, 1978, and with the new episodes in the new series, it got rejuvenated. Playing the Deadlock game, well, helped that as well. So I really love the ships and the fluff behind it. So I really wanted to have that incorporated in Fiery Void as well. Well, there are two different kinds of races in Fiery Void. Two different colonial fleets. Here you have them. On the left side, those are mine. On the right side, those are Kirill's. And we actually took a whole other approach to it. Mine are Tier 2. Kirill's are Tier 1. A lot more dangerous than mine. Well, a lot more. That's actually open to discussion, but well, there's a difference. But that's normal and that's okay, that's good. Mine should be out of playtest now, with a little details left and right still to get in order. Kirill's, they have still some playtesting to go through actually. So why did I actually create these? Well, a couple of years ago, well, a lot of years ago, 10 or 15 years ago, there was this YouTube film where you had Star Wars ships and Babylon 5 ships. They actually jumped in, and you have warp signatures of Starfleet ships, and they started the whole battle royale between each other, and that was so amazing. So I had a what if moment. I had, what if these actually met in space like so many sci-fi nerds before me? And well, those films were the only thing I had to actually visualize those things. Enter Fiery Void, where you had a system where you could actually pit those fleets against each other, but they weren't there. They didn't exist. You had Babylon 5, sure, and then Tyrell and Wolf started with the Star Wars ships. Those are amazing, but they weren't actually used that much because, well, like I said in the intro, they were outside of the Babylon 5 universe. and people didn't actually know what to do with them, or they actually play different than Babylon 5 ships. They're a little bit weaker, tier 2, as to speak, but they didn't have any opponents. So it was up to me to actually make an opponent, create a Battlestar Galactica fleet to actually be the equal of a Star Wars fleet, and actually have those two be able to combat each other. Later I would try to convince people to actually make a Star Wars addition to it, and lo and behold, that is happening right now as we speak, thanks to Tyrell again, who is making the Star Wars ships. And later I think I will make a tier 2 best 20 Babylon 5 ships to actually play also against the Battlestar and the Star Wars ships, and have my battle royale, have my possibility to have those 4 races be equal and balanced, and actually be able to have large galaxy-wide battles against each other. So that's actually what I'm trying to do, have a battle zone, a battleground. Now, more about the Battlestar Galactica ships. Aren't they pretty? They are so nice to actually see. So I have my capitals here, I have my heavy combat vehicles here, I have the mediums here, and I have some fighters and super heavy fighters over here. Well, how do they fly, and what is actually the way they are going forward? I opened the Mercury here, the Galactica as you will, that's a Mercury class. And it's actually, it's a large battleship. It's 1,500 meters, it's really large. It's not as large as the Pegasus over here, which is a little bit larger, Jupiter class, but a Mercury is actually one of the biggest you'll actually field. It's 1,500 points. When you compare that to the prices, the combat points of most of the Babylon 5 ships, it's among the top of those. I mean, an Omega is 925, a Nocturian is 1,350, Bintak 1,250, so this is actually even more expensive than those. Can you put a Jupiter against Bintak? No, you can't. It'll lose. Because, well, it's tier 2. It's not tier 1. Does not mean that it's weak. Far from it, actually. But it will have a tough fight. So these things are bulky. They have a lot of hit points. They have 90 in the front structure, 80 in the primary, 80 on the back, and 100 on the sides. So that's a lot of stuff to chew through. You actually have bulkheads, which make it even more difficult to chew through. They're actually very, very, very sturdy. They are sturdy. They have some, actually pretty good main batteries. That's the heavy weapon of choice. It's a main battery. It's a pulse matter weapon. 8 damage. Yeah, well, 8 damage is not a lot, but it shoots a pulse. So it actually depends on your RNG a lot. A main battery can give you a little bit of damage, or it can give you a whopping lot of damage. So it's a gamble, actually. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. It's what you get. The battery, the medium-sized weapons, they're actually the same, but their range penalty is actually more severe than the main battery. But, well, yeah, they can shoot faster. So your medium style matter guns, if you actually would like to call them. Then you have some missile racks, because, well, I'm actually watching the Mercury here. This is the Jupiter. I'm sorry, I've actually mixed them up. Maybe I should have the largeness change a bit, so you actually could use them. So sorry, this is the Galactica, the Jupiter. My mistake. I was wondering, because this had a nuclear torpedo, and the Galactica does not have a nuclear torpedo. Well, So you also have your main batteries, your medium batteries, not in the front here, but in the side, because the Galactica is a broadside ship mostly. Your missiles, your batteries, and these things, flak battery. You ever, when you go back and watch the films, the series, the port side actually shoots out a lot of shrapnel, a lot of flak. It also makes approaching it with fighters, suicide. And it can use those shrapnel things to intercept missiles from other ships and even fire. So that's what I try to actually do. Have those flak batteries have a defensive value. They intercept pretty well. They can intercept lasers. Woohoo. They can intercept 4 friendly units. So when you stack them on top of each other, it also helps to think of the Galactica fleet, the Colonial fleet, as actually a fleet that actually works in cohesion with each other. Small ships that actually have more intercept or more flak batteries can actually absorb some of the hits for the larger ones. So it actually really pays off to fly in fleet formation, because these things are expensive. They're actually the most expensive ships you have in Tier 2. So they're actually a bit of the Minbari of Tier 2. When you fly them alone, they will get singled out. They will get destroyed by one of the things that is really relevant in Fiery Void. If you have more hulls, you have more chance to actually destroy your enemy. So a single, for instance, if you play a 3,500 pointer, you have your Jupiter here, 1,500 points. You deck it out with some Vipers here, Viper Mark 7, which is the main medium fighter. Maybe even heavy fighters, 1 flight of the Pythons, some Raptors, and that's it. That's your fleet, 3,500 points, and a single ship with some fighters. And any person who has played some games know that, well, it gets singled out. If you have a barrage of lasers coming your way, even the mighty Galactica will not be able to take that for a long time. So, you have the Galactica, you have the Pegasus, which has even more hull, even more weapons, and a nuclear torpedo, 1 in the front. These are your main hulking brutes. You have some lesser, I would not say lesser, but less impressive capitals as well. Your Minerva, which is actually your Primus, if you're a Centauri fan. It has 4 main batteries in front. It's actually an artillery. It stays in the back and tries to hit one ship and kill it. It does have a lot less structure, 40, 40, 40. So it's a glass cannon. If you hit a Minerva a couple of times, it goes down fairly quick. Have an Odin. An Odin is actually a later generation small battleship. It's a pocket battleship. It does a little bit of everything. It has some missiles. It has a main battery. It has some side weaponry. So it does the whole thing, and it's not actually that costly. So if you get 3,500 points and you take an Odin, it also can carry 18 fighters. You're actually better off with that than with one of the main ships. You also have a carrier, a berserk carrier that can carry a lot of fighters. Now, normally you should not be needing this. Your heavy combat vehicles, they actually are not carriers. Your mediums, no. So if you want a large amount of fighters, you will have to take a Jupiter or a Berserk to actually carry them. They also are Python capable. Not all ships are Python capable, because the Python fighter actually really gives a punch. So I limited them a little bit. So these are your capitals. If you can see, Kirill has a lot more capitals than me. I will open just not to antagonize anyone. I'll open my Jupiter, and I'll open his. As you can see, there's a little bit different. Well, the armor and the structure points are pretty much the same, a little bit more, but his armaments are a lot more impressive than me. Also, you have missiles at your primary. So this is the more dangerous ship of the two, actually, but it's another tier, as I said. So your heavy combat vehicles. The Janus actually started on the wrong foot. It's actually a wing mod of one of the larger ships, of a Mercury, actually, a little bit bigger, which actually they strapped on some cannons, they strapped on some thrusters, and they said, you're good to go. This is actually a ship killer. The Janus has 3 main batteries to the front, which is a lot. It has some batteries to the back, also a main to the back. And in the beginning, I had this as a ship killer, but they are not that expensive. And I make the mistake of letting them turn a lot. I made them too agile, actually. So they could present their front, next turn present their back, and the next turn actually present their front again. So that was ludicrous, that was too much. So I actually made them a lot more sluggish now. This version is still the older version. The update will come one of these days. Jeff will do that. So it will be actually a sluggish ship. Still dangerous, but sluggish. The river is a medium. I should have put that below here instead of with the heavy combat vehicles. My mistake. Ooh, that's actually a little bit too large. The graphic. Well, the Alliance is there only a lint. It has a medium battery in front, some rapid Gatling guns. Oh yeah, those are actually your main anti-fighter weapons. They can be very dangerous to ships as well, because it's matter. But the hitting actually a ship, you need to pump in some electronic warfare to actually hit a target. When you do, and you're up close, they can shred, but well, do not depend on your rapid Gatling guns alone, because that will disappoint. The Tiger is maybe the most, is the MVP of the lot. It's heavy combat vehicles with some missiles, some main batteries, some normal batteries, a good amount of hull, good turning speeds. So that's actually your workhorse. At the moment, my favorite fleets are actually an Odin as my capital, and actually the Tiger, a few Tigers, and some fighters. That's really a tough fleet to actually face, because these are actually very good. I nerfed them a little bit. I took down their engine from 12 to 10 because they were a little bit too agile for their role. The Orion here, ignore all of this, because I've made the Orion a monitor. The worst turning possibilities in the whole game, but a lot of weapons. So I actually made it like the Orestes of Earth, to actually have a monitor. Now, the medium ships, the Manticore is a beaut. It has a heavy weapon. It has a heavy weapon for a medium ship, indeed. Not that much hull, so it's always a gamble. These are excellent in packs, but you can lose them very easily, even with the bulkheads. But still, at 575 points, they're actually very nice. The Loki, which is a light brawler, 3 batteries. And the Rusan is actually a carrier. It can carry 12 fighters. It's a light carrier. The Rusan also have a lot of flag batteries. You know, the anti-fighter thingies. It has them all around, in front, in the back. So they can intercept very well for the larger ships, Rusans. They can. They actually are a really, really good escort ship to have. Not that a lot of points, but hey, if you buy too much of these, you're actually taking away a lot of the firepower you can have with these guys. So it's a gamble. Is your opponent going to get a lot of fighters in? Is he going for the heavier ships? You don't know. So I always take one, Rusan. Sure, the other ones they all have flag batteries. No, not all of them, because I think the Janus doesn't have them. See, doesn't have them, so this needs to be protected by Rusan, for instance. It cannot do protection on its own. So there is some fleet symmetry all over the fleet, actually. And then you have the fighters. The fighters are awesome. I actually struggled a lot with the Vipers, because when you watch the show, the Vipers are spinning and pivoting and working actually very hard to get the right amount, the right angle. And if they have the right angle, they're amazing. So I really wanted a system that gives you a good set of damage if you have the perfect shot. So I had a kinetic energy cannon in a narrow arc. See, this is the normal arc, and this is the narrow one. So actually, it's got a good offensive bonus, and it actually rewards you for having the perfect arc, as in the show. Now, there are a lot of playtesters who actually flown these and said, "Oh my god, that's so annoying. I'm losing initiative and I cannot get a good shot." I said, yeah, that's the intention. You lose initiative, you have to bail, you have to break, you have to get out and try again. I don't want that, it's too annoying, I want regular arcs. Okay, but if I give it regular arcs, it becomes just another medium fighter, a medium interceptor, nothing special. So I really did not want to do that. Now, Wolf actually had an amazing idea. He said, why not have both? Have a wide and have a narrow one, and let the people have the possibility to actually fire only one. So if they have the perfect shot, fine. They have the perfect shot, it's a narrow. If they don't, well, it's a wide. And this, the offensive bonus is the same as this one. There should be a difference in fire control, I see. This has 5 fire control, and this has -5 fire control. So it's going to do less. As it's a pulse weapon, having shooting less accurately also drops down the possibility for higher damage. So that's actually what I wanted to do with the Vipers. And at the moment, I like where they are. They can also take basic fire missiles, so they have a bite. They can actually do some damage. But, well, if you load them up with basic fire missiles and you lose them, that's a lot of points you actually are not going to able to be spending on larger ships. So again, a gamble. You have the Viper Mark II, the old ships. They also have a narrow and a wide arc and a dogfight missile. They're a lot cheaper than the Viper Mark 7s. They're actually only good for playing against lighter light fighters and not mediums, because forget about heavy fighters or damaging ships. You're not going to. The Pythons are amazing. They're heavy fighters. You can only take a couple of those, because if you could take a large number of those, that would actually break the system, because the heavy kinetic energy cannon is actually a lot of damage. And it can hit you from miles away as well. These are your Brachitti Piquitos. These are your Thunderbolts. They're dangerous from up close and up far. So actually, they need interceptors to actually safeguard them. The Mamba, also note that the Vipers, they don't have matter weapons. It's actually standard, because if they would have matter damage, it would be too much. Now, but still, I wanted to experiment with matter damage a bit. So I made the Mamba prototype medium flight, which actually doesn't fly well. It's a tough ship to actually get correctly, but if it hits matter damage in a pulse mode, which actually hurts a lot. But I don't know still what I'm going to do with those. They remain a prototype and a rare flight, so you cannot take a lot of them. And Raptors are amazing. Raptors give you they give the other fighters actually an initiative bonus when they're flying in 5 hexes close to them, and they can also provide some sensor damage. Well, not damage, but weakens the target sensors next turn. So it's actually a very good ship to actually have as support. There are more Raptors, and there will be more in the future. But like for instance, Kirill has Raptors that actually can put an assault team of Marines on your ship and actually destroy one system. That's a way cool idea, which I'm going to steal from the guy, which is also also the 30 here. It's going to be dropped to 20 because 30 is a lot. It's too much actually. So this is actually in half an hour what I'm trying to do with the Colonials. I'm always open to feedback. There has been a lot of feedback from a lot of players, which I'm eternally grateful for. I always bitch and moan that I don't like the feedback, and you're not wrong, I am right. But really, guys, I do appreciate it. And it's helped me actually to get these Tier 2 in just about the right place that I want them to be. There will be some little snippets here and there to fine-tune them, maybe add a ship, maybe drop a ship, I don't know, but 90% they are what they are going to be. So I'm really looking forward to having battles against Star Wars ships, against Star Trek ships, and maybe other IPs that are willing to enter the battle zone later. So hope you enjoyed this, and if you have any questions about the Colonials Tier 2, I cannot answer these for Kirill's, then give me a shout out on Discord, and see you guys next time. Bye.